What's up, you guys? Century Productions here, and welcome to the Watchtower series. If you're new here, this is just basically a deep dive into my toy photography. I show you how I pose my figures, how I light my setups, basically everything that revolves around my toy photography. So we're starting off this episode with a little Hulk and Hercules action. I was kind of playing around with the idea of who I would have behind this door. Initially I was going to have a bunch of hands of like monsters and everything coming from behind this door, but I was having a terrible time trying to get them situated on top of the door and everything, and once I got it all set up, it just didn't really work out the way I had imagined it. So I just kind of went with the classic idea, you know, Hulk coming in, Hercules kind of back against the door trying to keep the Hulk out. Nothing too crazy with this shot, it's pretty straight on. Just kind of playing around with the posing, played around with some of the props, put a couple little like pails back here, there's a skull over there, put his, was that his hammer? I forget exactly what that's called. But I just kind of played with the layers a little bit, played with the colors, went with like a cooler setting for this shot. It's pretty straightforward, nothing groundbreaking. You know, it is kind of fun to play around with this 80th anniversary Hulk though. This is an awesome figure, and of course this retro Hercules, which is to date the most accurate comic book version of Hercules that we've gotten, at least a classic Hercules. So fun little shot. I'm not going to spend too much time on this one. You know, sometimes with little scenes like this, I'll just kind of, you know, play around with them, pose the figures. More than anything, this is just more of an exercise in just toy photography, playing with the figures, and just taking a nice, well-rounded shot. Like I said, it's nothing groundbreaking, so this is more along the lines of just me kind of playing with my figures, and instead of just sitting around doing nothing, I'm putting a scene together, and I figured I'd just show you guys real quick. So it's a cool little scene, so let's take a look at this shot. Alright, so I'm on the table with an Indiana Jones shot here. Just picked up these two Temple of Doom figures. If you guys hear some noise in the background, that is my German Shepherd licking his paws. So let me let you guys listen to that real quick. Alright, so like I said, on the table with the Indiana Jones shot, I was really lucky to find both of these figures in the store yesterday. I don't think they're out for a couple weeks or the beginning of August, I can't remember specifically, but love Temple of Doom. I just recently saw the new Indiana Jones movie with my niece. I really enjoyed it. Thought it was a great indie movie. So when I found both of these figures, I was like, oh man, I'm in an Indiana Jones mood. So I'm gonna shoot some shots from Temple of Doom. You know, I love all of the Indiana Jones movies, the original three, more specifically. So I don't know if I could really pick my favorite. I would think it would be Last Crusade, but Temple of Doom is just such a good movie too. So, and Short Round, man, Short Round is an awesome character. I can't believe they made a figure of him. Or they also announced that we're getting a Henry Jones or Sean Connery figure, so I'm really stoked for that too. But tons of ideas that I have for Short Round. But I wanted to start it off with this moment. This is right after Short Round uses the torch to break the spell of the Kali Ma that Indiana Jones is under the spell of. And then they kind of embrace for a moment, and then it's right back to the action. Really great little scene. And I thought I could, you know, kind of replicate it the best I could. Obviously, I can't get the background to kind of match exactly what's going on in the Temple of Doom. At this point in the movie, they're actually in the Temple of Doom. And I couldn't really replicate that super good, but you know, I have this diorama. Let me see if I can hit back here. You guys can see this diorama. It's like old ruins. I got this from Myron Studios. He's on Instagram if you guys want to hit him up. He makes amazing dios. This one also, is funny enough, has like a skull emblem at the top. So already kind of Temple of Doom vibes as is, but I added a couple other like little accents, you know, these little like cauldrons or whatever those are, and this obviously came with a door back here, and I just stuck another piece of the dial back there, but most of that's going to be out of focus. We're obviously focusing on these two guys right here. You know, in this actual scene, you only really see like, let me see if I can get the framing right, you only really see like that much. So I kind of had to like open it up a little bit more, you know. This is right after Short Round gives Indy the hat and then they hug. So Indy is actually holding on to the hat. kind of had to play around with the hands, switch a couple of the hands around. And funny enough, not all of the hands work with all the Indiana Jones figures. Some of the little ball sockets on the hands are like bigger than others. So these ones are like smaller than the ones that were on his hand, so I kind of had to heat them up and kind of shove them on there. I mean, they eventually work, but I thought that was kind of interesting. And the skin tones aren't exactly the same. Enough to where you wouldn't really be able to tell too much in camera because of the lighting, but in person, yeah, they're a little bit different. But this Indiana Jones figure is awesome. I have kind of a cool idea for a kit bash for this coming up. You might see that in this episode. But I think there's one more short round shot I want to do kind of with this setup. Right before this moment, he hands Indiana Jones his hat. So I think with this whole setup I got right here, it'd be kind of a easy shot to take while I got everything still up. But yeah, man, I really enjoyed making this little scene with Short Round and Indy, one of my favorite parts of the movie. I mean, I love the whole movie, so it's kind of hard to pick and choose, but I thought this was a cool moment, and I thought I could get it done with action figures. So let's take a look at this. Alright, so I set up the other quick little scene, or I guess I just reposed the figures, and I thought I'd just pop in with you guys real quick and mention that this hat that comes, I believe this hat comes with the Short Round. It doesn't actually fit on the Indiana Jones head though. It only fits on Short Round's head. But it is nice that they included this accessory with the Short Round, because, you know, several ideas where Indy doesn't have his hat on, you know, or he's grabbing his hat from under like a closing door or something. So I like that they gave us that little prop. Another thing I wanted to mention is these figures come loaded with accessories. This temple version of Indiana Jones comes with like a staff, it comes with the bag, it comes with the Shankara stones for like the little build-a-figure thing that they have going on, you know, where they have all the stones in the skull. I just thought that was really cool. I'm really loving this Indiana Jones line. I'm almost sad because they're making so many figures so quickly that this line's going to end like almost immediately. So, but so far I'm really enjoying collecting this line, and I'm really enjoying these two figures in particular. Very cool little scene. I actually like this so much, I actually might panel these two shots together and make like a little panel. This one being first, and then the previous one I just shot being the second panel. Alright, I'm on the table with the Captain America shot. If you guys have watched, you know, my videos or scroll my Instagram feed, you can probably tell I'm a pretty big fan of Captain America. He's my favorite superhero of all time. I'm always shooting him. There's so many different figures that Hasbro's given us, and not just Hasbro, all the other toy companies as well. And I always kind of circle back around to shooting this 20th anniversary Captain America from the Toy Biz 20th anniversary with the special packaging. I just think this is the best Captain America figure that's ever been made. Even though it is sharing the body with quite a few other Captain America figures, I still think the color scheme, the head sculpts are just fantastic. So from, as you can tell, I kind of have a little Steve Rogers kit bash right here from the last shot using the Indiana Jones from Temple of Doom. I was looking at that figure and I was like, man, this just seems so skinny for Indiana Jones. I don't remember him being this skinny in Temple of Doom, but it kind of got my mind scrambling, and I was like, oh, you know, this could probably work for a Steve Rogers pre-serum, like a frail Steve Rogers. So I started playing around with some head swaps. I tried some of the movie figures because my initial idea was going to have him right before he goes into the chamber that gives him the serum and, you know, turns him into a much larger Steve Rogers. But none of the movie heads were really working with it. So then I kind of, you know, thinking of this figure, I pulled out the extra head, the unmasked version, and it just fit perfectly on this Indiana Jones figure. The skin tones are very similar, so I kind of ran with that idea. Like I said, the initial idea was going to be in a lab, but I just wasn't, it was very bare bones. I just wasn't liking like how it was all coming together. So I started pulling out some cutouts, you know. I've said it before, I love working with cutouts. Probably my favorite thing, one of my favorite things when it comes to toy photography, but I think it's the thing I do best when it comes to toy photography. And I pulled these cutouts. I believe these were from Captain America Living Legend comic. I believe they're from that. But if you look at these cutouts, basically they say, the story of Captain America is filled as much with myths and lies as it is with truth, but that, after all, is how you build a legend. So I pulled out these cutouts with the intention of putting it on this little kit bash right here, but the story in my mind just hadn't really come together just yet. So naturally I pulled out this figure and kind of went with the collage type of style of shot here. If you look through the ACVA archives, you'll see a lot of people did collages back in the day. Not so much nowadays, but I think it is a really cool little type of shot that definitely should make a comeback, and it's very fun to come up with ideas. When it comes to collages, you can play with scales. It's almost like a movie poster, but in action figure form. So I went with a very simple type of collage shot here. I have these two different setups kind of separated. One being with this little base that came with the Marvel Select Bucky cap from years back, like over 10 years ago. And then a kind of a little kit bashed brick wall with wooden floor here, kind of separating the scenes, but still at the same time kind of keeping them together with the cutout kind of tying everything in. So if your eyes look to the left, you can see you have frail Steve Rogers pre-serum at the enlistment office. This is in World War II with the very famous Uncle Sam U.S. Army Enlist Now poster. So I kind of worked with a little bit of multimedia. I just printed both of these out, custom made this, and just kind of attached them to the wall, kind of to tell the story a little bit. We got Steve Rogers at the enlistment office, which we all know he, of course, doesn't get to enlist in the Army because he's just such a weak individual as far as his physicality and his ailments. And then, separating that scene into this scene, we have the very triumphant Captain America in his red, white, and blue with the cutouts, with his shield on top of a bald eagle, just kind of representing what Steve eventually became in, Captain America, the Sentinel of Liberty, as some people would call him. So I just thought this very simple collage was a very cool way of demonstrating the original version of Steve Rogers and what he became. And what's cool about this shot is when you have both of these guys stacked next to each other, you can really see how much bigger Steve has gotten after he's gotten the serum. And I just thought this looked really cool. Initially, I'm going over back here. Initially, I had this cutout of Peggy over here. You guys probably can't see that well, but initially had it over here, but the shot was just getting a little too long as far as the dimensions, so I kind of had to scrap that idea. Maybe further down the line I can use this cutout, but this is a very cool cutout. I do really like this little Peggy Carter cutout, but sometimes less is more, so I didn't really need to add that in. We have basically the two versions of Steve Rogers right here, and like I said, I think the most important part about this collage is separating the scenes. Indoor, outdoor, the background, all that stuff. Not much more to touch on here, just wanted to show you a little bit more of the lighting. We got the two panel minis by Lume Cube right here. These are mainly to give light to the cutout. Whenever I'm working with these cutouts, like more specifically the speech bubble ones, whenever I have my camera, instead of focusing on one of these guys' faces, I always focus on the cutout. Just because when you're taking the shot, you want the words to be as visible as they can. So usually my focal point for shots like this with speech bubbles are the actual speech bubbles themselves. But when you have both of these guys on the same plane, everything's going to come out in focus, but I just want to make sure this comes out the most in focus. That way it's very legible when you read it or when you look at the shot. Another light right here, since I have this tacked onto the shield, there's shadows being created, so this light right here actually if you can kind of see, there's a shadow right here. This light kind of eliminates those shadows, so that's why that's right there. We have this light right here to give Captain America some backlighting, and it's kind of hidden behind this brick wall. And that's another cool thing about the lighting is like none of this light is hitting this Steve, so we kind of have like that indoor kind of lighting a little bit, not a lot, but you know, it kind of separates the lighting from indoor to outdoor, and I kind of went with a more warmer kind of setting right here hitting the back of Steve. And I always just usually do that for outside shots. It just looks really good in camera. And then we have the LED little light bar back there. That's just to kind of hit the background. And yeah, that's pretty much the whole lighting setup. Like I said, this collage style is very cool. I probably will end up doing more shots similar to this, but it's just very hard to get ideas for shots like this. And you know, there's not a crazy amount of these shots out there, so it's hard to kind of build ideas. But I really enjoyed this, and I think this is like one of my favorite Captain America shots I've ever taken, so let's take a look at it. Alright, I've cooked up a little Daredevil shot here. This idea of like the background and the foreground being in black and white is something that I've kind of been kicking around for a while. It reminds me a lot of the old Sin City books, where, you know, a majority of the book is in black and white, but there's like hints of color here and there. And I don't know, for some reason when I thought of this idea, my first thought just went to Daredevil. It seems every time I pull out this 3-pack Marvel Legends Daredevil, I'm always taking some kind of rooftop shot. And I guess that hasn't changed, as you can see here. Basically, so that was the idea, and then what I have here is I've just taken an image. I've actually printed this image out before in color, and basically I just took the same image and I just changed it to black and white. Same thing with this bottom cutout right here. This is a cutout. You guys probably can't see it that well, but you can see it kind of just sits on the top of the table. This is actually from a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comic. But I basically had made this cutout in color as well, and I just turned that to black and white. And I thought it would be a pretty cool idea to just have the Daredevil in color, you know, especially this very strong red that Daredevil is, and then everything else in black and white. I know lots of people have done this. It's not a new thing by any means, but I just thought it was going to be a cool idea, and this Daredevil is just an excellent figure. Pinless. I didn't want him just standing on the rooftop. I kind of wanted him at least doing something, so I basically got his, what are these, batons, I guess, and the line that kind of attaches both of them. I just kind of got them in the air. I'll throw up the reference photo that I kind of based this little pose off of. Another thing I wanted to keep into consideration, and thankfully the reference photo kind of shows this, is as you can see, this cutout right here is kind of at an angle going up. So I was kind of looking up reference photos of like, how would someone be standing on a building like this from this perspective? So luckily that reference shot kind of showed the same pose with the same angle of the building. And then I just kind of just threw the background back here. Now I don't know if the background should be angled or what, but I think in frame it kind of looks cool. And you know, I didn't really throw that much thought into this. I just kind of had the idea, just kind of threw it all together. And I think the little thing that I added extra that kind of made it pop a little bit more is I threw in this red light. On the video right here, it probably doesn't seem like it's that red. It probably looks orange or yellow, but it's actually red. Kind of giving them a nice little backlight, highlight. And every other light I'm using is a white light. I want to make sure I'm not using any other colored lights. I got a couple of lights pointing at the bottom cutout. We got some more lights to the top right, top left that are pointing at the background. So there's not really too much going on with this shot. I can kind of pick him up right here and kind of show you this is kind of what we're working with the cutout right here. Just kind of tacked onto a clear acrylic riser, and I can just pose the Daredevil right there and kind of just center everything. Of course, I'm going to be shooting this in portrait mode, so it'll be more like this kind of framing. So yeah, don't want to spend too much time on it. I've actually had these two items printed and ready to go for months now. I just never got around to shooting this, so I had just taken that Captain America shot, and I was like, all right, you know, this seems like a simple enough shot, so I could probably bang this one out real quick. So. Alright, I'm probably a little late to this one. I'm shooting this the day after Ryan Reynolds released the teaser of Deadpool 3 with Hugh Jackman wearing the iconic Wolverine yellow and blue costume. It's only been, what, like 23 years since Hugh Jackman's been playing Wolverine, and we're finally getting to see him in that costume. Anyways, what I noticed is, you know, there's a lot of buzz around the internet with people posting this picture and then obviously recreating the image, which is just them standing there. It's like an on-set photo, as you can see right here. And I saw a lot of people's interpretations of this, and you know, just to kind of play off of like the meme of it, I went with X-23 and Lady Deadpool right here, both female figures I've never shot. I just thought it would be kind of funny to like gender bend the idea of, you know, Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, but switching obviously the characters to their comic counterparts, female versions. So that's kind of what I'm doing right here. Tried to match the scenery from that teaser pic the best I could, but you know, of course, I'm just kind of playing around with the idea. They're like in like some area that's on the ground. It's got like gravel on the ground. There's like a mountain behind them. So I don't really have all that stuff to kind of cook that up specifically. So I kind of just went with a little cutout back here, and then I put something in the foreground right here. It's like a little rock base from a Star Wars figure. And yeah, not really much to this shot. Just kind of had to pose them the best I could in a walking pose, which is kind of hard for female figures, more specifically this X-23. And yeah, I took out her claws, took out the claws on her boots. Actually, when I got this figure, I think it only came with one of the claws in the boots. I think in the factory they forgot to put the other one on, so I've only ever had one on this all-new Wolverine X-23 buck. But yeah, I just thought this was a funny shot. Thought you guys would get a kick out of it. Like I said, I might be a little late on this one. I probably should have posted this shot today, but I didn't even think of this shot today. I think I counted something like 20-something interpretations of this meme by other action figure photographers. So I thought I'd just throw mine into the mix. So yeah, that's gonna do it for this episode of the Watchtower series. We're well on our way to San Diego Comic-Con next week. I did just recently get the Iron Man, Marvel Legends Iron Man Model 1 figure. I think it's fantastic, so I think I'm going to start shooting that one directly after this. Probably put one more episode out before I head over to San Diego Comic-Con, and probably get some footage over there, so stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Make sure to check out my Instagram for some more behind-the-scenes videos of my shots, the finished shots. Got my Facebook down there. Make sure to check out Articulated Comic Book Art on Facebook and their Instagram page. And this is Century Productions. Let's take a look at this shot, man.